Hey, I'm producer Josh Wilbur, and I'm going to walk you through a Lamb of God and Trivium demo mix using the new Drums of Destruction EZX expansion pack. So here we've got Lamb of God's In Your Words. This is off the Wrath record, and this is a nice easy one for me to work on because I had stems already from it. I literally mixed this song 8 to 10 years ago. It's always interesting playing up a song you worked on almost a decade ago. Real simple on the Pro Tools session. I got just bass, stereo guitars, and then my, once again, MIDI that's extracted using the drum tracker. I went through the process of importing the original kick, snare, and whatnot, and then exporting the MIDI. And here we have our kit options. So this being a Lamb of God song, we'll use the Chris Adler Mapex kit with his signature Warbird snare. Should be all the Mapex kit, which this was actually the prototype kit. Very similar to the one he played back then on Wrath, but he plays 10, 12, 16, 18, I believe. Yeah. This huge gong of drums here. So I went through a similar process on this, throwing up a mix for it using just the tune track mixer. I did the same thing with a little multi-band on the top end of the kick, along with a little EQ. I'll get back into that in a second. So very often with such a high-pitched drum like this, and it's small, I have to use a good amount of tape simulator to really pull down the transients a little bit, even though I'm using it after the transient designer, which I'm bumping a lot of the transients on and then chopping them off with the tape simulator here. But it's kind of making a fun sound. If I pull them off. Kind of evens the whole thing out a little bit. A little compression going on. And EQ. The interesting thing about this particular snare drum, because it's such a small snare, and the ring is so signature to the sound, the Lamb of God sound in particular. But every time I'm mixing and using this particular snare drum, I find, depending on how much of this mid-range in here, I can hone right in on the ring and decide like how much of it I actually want to use. Can usually So that's our guy right there. So this is kind of the frequency that a lot of that ring sound out of this particular snare comes in. A lot of times I actually want a lot of this, and Chris loves this. So a lot of times to achieve more of this on a Lamb record, I'll have a separate track where there's like actually a lot of that and going through a little bit of distortion that I can kind of fade in and out depending on the tempo of the song. If the song's going too fast, it's too much. But like if there's a lot of space, a lot of the sustain of the drum comes out of that as well. So I'll this is like always a delicately balanced area for me when using this particular snare drum, and how much of it really determines a lot. But if I dip it, as I have it right here, it tends to kind of fill out the whole thing. Again, with this drum room, it's so neutral. So the ambience, which is a lot of your snare sound too, if I put reverb on the actual room mics, if I mute the reverb, you'll hear the room is so balanced, you can hear all the individual instruments nice and clear right there. But for this particular track where it's kind of slow at the beginning, spacious, I put some reverb on the actual room mics. Certainly changes the space of it, and that's the cool thing about this drum room, is if I want to clean it up and make the whole drum sound real close and punchy, I can still get some space around the kit using just the natural ambience without it sounding like reverb. So let's listen to the two different kind of artistic approaches I can take with the two different ways of treating this room. Sounds super clean and crisp on that fast tempo section, but on this part I'd probably, I want a little bit more ambience for sure. So let me bring it in this time. It's a unique snare sound to try to work around, just because most, I guess, your kind of a lot of your average metal tunes will have very like low tuned snare drums. Nowadays snares that almost sound like kicks too, where this one is so signature sounding, but it's always, once I get it sitting right in the track, it's like crystal clear and easy to hear, and that's exactly what the guys are always looking for, or actually Chris is always looking for in the snare sound. All right, we've been going through this track using Superior Drummer 2. I prefer to use it just because it gives me the mixer built in, and I tend to be a heavy processing kind of guy. But I'm going to go through the exact same process now and start from scratch using EZdrummer, which the pack actually is. So I've made another track here, which is, just brought my MIDI down. We got our EZdrummer here. And let's pull it up. All right, so what I've basically done here is I created the Lamb of God settings symbols with the pearl toms, and let's use the warbird snare also. So we've kind of created a little hybrid kit here. Let's see what that sounds like. Just for fun, I think I can globally just add a little extra top end to everything. I'll do that outside. We got a good balance here that's working. very often on my 2-bus, I'll run it through a some kind of like tape plug-in and usually a stereo compressor. So right now we've just got our guitar stem, our bass stem, and the drums coming through.